Hey, welcome to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be getting an update today on the East Palestine train derailment and the potential health effects that it could be having on people. As I showed you about a week ago or so, maybe 2 weeks ago now, there was a video I did where showed you a picture of people with rashes and stuff like that on their hands and stuff coming from this, along with other irritations that they were having, eye irritation, throat irritation, just stuff that just makes you feel bad, right? Now the problem is the EPA's been saying that all the chemicals that they can find are below, their detection levels, or they're too low to be a health threat, blah blah blah. But all these people kept coming up with more and more of these situations. First, you had the die off of the fish. You had the die off of pets in the area, and then they told the FDA told people, or the EPA told people to come back. Everything's fine, and they started getting these rashes, right? Now, the chemicals that were at the train derailment are well below um, concern at this point. They should have dissipated at this point. Um, that's what the science tells us. But the problem is there's still something there. And as of Friday, we may have found out part of the culprit, or part of what the people are dealing with there at East Palestine, and why they may be having these problems. Because I'm going to talk to you about this chemical that they have found, and talk to you about some ramifications that Texas A&M University and Carnegie Mellon University have come up with in comparison to Pittsburgh, where they have previous readings. Now, Carnegie Mellon University and Texas A&M have a collaboration where um, they've created this mobile lab basically that has extremely sensitive um, technology on it that can basically sniff out these chemicals down to the parts per billion. It says they go further than what the EPA is currently using to detect the chemicals and stuff like that in the air, especially right now in East Palestine, Ohio. Um, but the chemical is still under minimal thresholds, at least for short term, like 3 to 10 day exposure, something like that. But the chemical is acrolein. It's used to control plants and algae, rodents, and microorganisms. It's used a lot around not aquifers, but um, irrigation canals and things like that. And so it can cause problems. Now, let's compare what the possible side effects are to this chemical with what people are experiencing in East Palestine. Now, at room temperature, it says that at room temperature, it is toxic and it's a liquid. It can cause inflammation, irritation to the skin, respiratory tract, and mucous membranes as well can be inflamed. Skin irritation sounds like rashes to me. Inflammation and and stuff could explain the respiratory tract issues that people are having. The issue with their throats, the burning in their throats or eyes, things like that, could be part of this problem. That's from the That's what it says it can cause at certain levels, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. It says while acrolein was not one of the chemicals listed that was being carried by the train derailment, it can be created during the combustion of fuels, wood, and plastics, according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Um, Therefore, there is a potential here, right, for longer term effects. The Carnegie Mellon Texas A&M people are saying that um, they go on here. It says the Texas A&M and Carnegie Mellon researchers say that test methods for the EPA that the EPA is using to measure acrolein on the scene has a limit, and it's too high to pick up the relevant levels relevant to health. It says the current methodology used by the EPA is not very sensitive, according to Dr. Ivan Russin, director of Texas A&M University Superfund Research Center. Um, And we're not talking about a university in Texas A&M that's like super liberal. So it's not like there's going to be any kind of like, um, you know, liberal bias. I don't believe you're going to come across there. Um, but I'm going to go over here and read you what the Texas A&M Superfund Research Twitter page has to say. The Akron air data showed potential long-term health concerns, and the EPA says that these levels are likely to dissipate. Several samples were above the immediate 15-day to 1 year levels, but the method used had detection limit higher than the EPA and minimal risk levels. So there is the potential that this chemical acrolein could be causing a problem, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, let me know. Um, but this could be part of the reason why people have been having the issues they've been having. Hopefully, these numbers will continue to dissipate to the point that these people aren't having these problems anymore. But I believe we need to do more to help the people of East Palestine. I don't understand why there's not more stuff going on there. In some respects, at least from the train company itself, should be doing more to support these people. But two, part of the issue we do have is partisan politics. The Biden administration has sent people there, within 2 hours of the train derailment, according to Biden himself. But of course, FEMA and things like that didn't show up until 2 weeks later. Part of the reason why the government is having such a hard time getting not information, but getting people aid to the scene into the city or of East Palestine is the fact that the governor of Ohio has refused, as of last Thursday anyway, to sign a declaration of disaster. If he doesn't sign a disaster declaration, then the federal government has limited capabilities. They are literally hamstrung on what they are allowed to do because of states' rights. It's how the government is set up. So if you're out there wondering why isn't Biden doing more, well, part of the problem is he legally can't do more. I mean, FEMA's on the ground there now, and they're not even really tasked with this particular problem. It's not their purview generally. A train derailment. It's not usually their thing. They usually, for weather disasters and earthquakes. But what do you do when the area is contaminated? What are they going to do? But I'm glad they're trying to figure out what they can do. Now the state of Ohio needs to hurry up and make sure their governor signs the declaration of disaster, so the federal government can get all the help there it needs. Although Biden has made it very clear to both governors, the Biden administration has made it very clear that any needs that they have, anything that the federal government can do, they are there for them. They just have to ask. We found out today that the NTSB has said for sure that it was apparently a bad ball bearing or whatever in the trains that caused the derailment here. They're trying to figure out exactly how that happened, why it happened, and why it wasn't detected. Once I have information on that, I will let you know. But to the people in East Palestine, I hope y'all are okay. I hope people are at least getting help. I'm not there, so if you're from East Palestine or if you're in the area and you know people there, let me know in the comments what you think is how they are doing. Um, because we need to get this information out there. We need more people to know what's going on, more people to know what these people are feeling like, how they're feeling, what they're dealing with, and the deeper impacts to the environment. Um, but at the end of the day, I hope these chemicals will dissipate, and I guess we'll see at the end of down the road, the side effects. But hopefully, the research can continue and keep getting the readings, and the numbers will keep going down, and hopefully, there are no long-term effects. Because a lot of these chemicals were cancer-causing are known as cancer-causing agents. Most of them were carcinogens, and the effects that could have on the people of East Palestine and the areas in the you know all the way into Pennsylvania. It could be rough. But one last bit of note thing here is that the chemical acerline or whatever it was, yeah, acerline. Um, the levels were higher in East Palestine, Ohio, than they were in downtown Pittsburgh. A heavily, you know, industrial city. With a lot more pollution. But this chemical is a lot higher currently in East Palestine, Ohio. This as of Friday. Now, both Carnegie Mellon and the Texas A&M Superfund Research Group have all said that they're going to continue their monitoring. The EPA now says they are sending their own mobile monitoring vehicle down there to monitor the area as well with more sensitive information, or technology. And hopefully, we'll get to the bottom of this very soon. So this has been the Big Ranch Show. I'll see you down the road, and I may have some good news for you on Wednesday. We will see. Uh, see you down the road.